Okay, let me just, I don't know what y'all want exactly, but I thought I would just start talking about how Corel works to give you a
Yeah,
general
yeah.
overview. Okay. All right. So what you is it? Can you see it well enough?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Um, all right. So what you have here is a canvas, and you can open any kind of canvas you want to. You go over here and you click on New, and that brings up a dialog box. And you can name the image. I'm not going to name it. You can set up how many pixels the size of the canvas is. You can set up the resolution to be 100 pixels per inch or 600 pixels per inch, whatever you need. You can set your canvas color and you can put paper on it. Then you can start painting on a layer, or you can just let it start on the canvas. And you can click on a color profile, which that has to do with, it just has, don't worry about that right now. It'll be too hard to explain it. So you can
kind of
do
broke
all
up.
of that.
You
I'm
broke up
sorry?
just for a second. You
Okay.
broke up for just a second there. That last thing you were talking about, that
Yeah.
you said, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the RGB color profile. You have a
Oh.
whole bunch of color profiles that you can use. I tend to use RGB 1998, the Adobe
Is that your
color
favorite?
profile. I'm sorry?
Is that your favorite, or that's just your standard usage?
It's my favorite. I can use several others, and there are others that people prefer. It depends on what you're going to be doing, who you're sending stuff to, and all that. But it gets kind of complex, and it'll just get you confused. All right, so then what you do is you just click OK. Now I'm not going to do that because this one I've already done. I've opened it up. Okay. So we're on the canvas, and I told you I had selected a particular canvas. I can go over here. This is called a script. It's something that I wrote that will automatically do something for me. So if I click on that, it's going to automatically put the paper on top of the canvas so that I can see what it is. So really what I have here is just a kind of a,
Texture.
a textured canvas. Think of it as like a burlap sack or something. That's the way this one would be. But it could be any number of things. I can select the paper. I've got stuff up here I need to move somewhere else. Let's see. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So I can come up here and actually select the paper, although it's not showing like I thought it would. So we will change brushes.
I see size stroke. Huh.
I need to move y'all to no way. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me see if I can find a different brush. Let's just go chalk. All right, there we go. So now I can click here, and these, all of this stuff here are different brushes, different canvas.
Okay.
And so it can be something really typical, or something rather kind of crazy like the one I've got on here, which is a little bit strong. Okay, now I don't want that to show. Okay, I just wanted to show you what it looks like. So I have up here an undo. So I can click undo a couple of times.
It's always good to have undo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have an undo and a redo.
Oh, okay.
And on the actual brush, if I click the stylus that I have has a little rocker clicker on it. And if I click the front of the rocker, I get this sort of menu where I can make some changes. If I click the back of the rocker, that activates undo. So I just undid everything I'd done back to where we were when we opened it up, just by clicking on my rocker. And that's really a nice thing to do, as a matter of fact. Now I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to just, this was watercolor, and watercolor has to be painted on a specific layer. Certain types of things like thick paint, liquid ink, and watercolor have their own layers that you have to work on. But you can change that layer to another layer, type of layer. You can, you're open to do anything with it, but I'm getting a little too complex. Right now, I just want to come into my layers panel here and delete that layer. Now what I have is the canvas and just a plain layer. Now I'm going to go to pencils. That's probably where we ought to start. Okay, so in the pencils, when you go there, what you'll find is you have all of these brushes that are pencils. Okay? So if I started with this hard pencil up here, see, it is making this color that I have selected. So I'm going to go to black. Now, this hard pencil is going to show that texture. If it's hard, it's not going to be able to, it's going to hit the hills and not the valleys of the texture. So you can actually see that texture. You can hold your stylus. Notice the little line coming off the stylus, the icon for the brush on the paper. Do you see that little line coming off the oval? That's
Yeah, I
moving
do.
around? Okay, that little line shows you how I'm holding this stylus. So right now I'm holding the stylus so that it's to the side. It's like almost perpendicular to the tablet, okay? But I can turn it up so that it's like almost straight up and down. And when I do that, I get a tinier, I get a pinpoint of a line. And this brush has an opacity that goes from light pressure to heavy pressure. And as long as it's straight up and down, I'm not going to get much of a change to the size of the brush. But if I just angle it a little bit, then it's like working with the side of the lead and the pencil. You've got it sharpened, and so you're painting with the side of it. Does that make sense?
Slightly.
Sort of. Okay, so if I go to this soft 2B, that's the type of brush you would probably more recognize. I'm going to take it back to its smallest, this is a reset, which resets it to whatever it was originally. Okay, now you'll see this one is not going to show as much of the texture as the other one does. But see, again, working on the side, you get that little, that larger kind of sweep of the brush. And working straight up and down, you're not going to get that. But again, if I increase my pressure, it's going to get more opaque. Lighter pressure gets less. Same thing if I'm going to the side. Light, then I start increasing my pressure, and I get a darker amount as I go. And that's what you do with your pencils if you're working with them. Now, you may not like shading with a pencil, so you would probably pick one of these hard pencils and work with it. Or there's a really neat pencil down here called Thick and Thin. And if you go to the Thick and Thin, it's going to do exactly what you would imagine. Light stroke is thin, heavy stroke is thick. So you get this real nice, and I tell you what, I'm going to change the paper to something not so textured. We'll go up to just a basic paper. That should give us a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So this brush is very sensitive to pressure. So if you're doing light pressure, you're going to get a real thin line and not as much opacity. Heavy pressure gives you the thickest line as it can go at the size of the brush. Now this brush is 6.2 pixels on a radius. So if I were thinking of the diameter of the brush, it would be 12.4. But they give you the size based on the radius. So this really is a nice brush because you can.
Man, it sucks. Kind of breaking up a
See?
little bit.
Can you, we lost you for just a second, but I
Okay.
don't think you said anything huge there for a second.
Okay, I probably didn't because I was just drawing this to show you how it works. And then you have all kind of little things you can do that if you need something like an oval, I can go over here and select an oval selection. And then as I pull this down, you see I get an oval. Now, if I take that brush, I can come in here and paint with that brush, but it is not going to go past that line. You know what I mean?
Because that's the size of your canvas there. That's where you're working in.
This is the size of the oval
Uh-huh.
that I just put in there. The
Yeah, he
canvas
kinda
size
put that
is
here, clip on here.
like this. You know, it's over around the whole thing. See if I get rid of that oval, that selection. Now when I try to paint, I'm not going to stay in the line. And that oval, there we go with delete, delete, delete till I got where I wanted to go. That oval, if I go back to that and I start pulling it down and I hit the shift key, I'm going to go to a circle. So now I have a perfect circle that I can paint with if I so choose. See, it stays within that line. I'm just trying to show you some of the tricks that you can do with digital that you can't quite do traditionally.
I understand, make it more easier. I understand.
Yes, absolutely. There are all kinds of things that make things easier. Now, if we look up here, all of these are types of brushes. So these are brushes that sort of mimic acrylic, airbrushes, blenders. All right, so like if I go to an airbrush and we do something like, let me look. We'll go to that pepper spray. All right, so now if I just paint straight up and down or as straight up and down as I can go, you see you get this splatter. But if I hold it to the side, you see it's going to splatter out. So it's like an airbrush, but it also, you've got airbrush possibilities that are a lot smoother than this.
Oh, okay.
See, I like that edge because I would do
You
something
definitely
like
help make a variety. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
right. I would do something like this. Then I could go back to, say, my pencil. And let's go to the thick and thin. I'm not in pencils, I'm in pastels. Okay, thick and thin. Now I can come in here and, oops, let's make that a little stronger this way.
Mr. Allister,
Sure.
Beginner, what would you recommend me using? What is a perfect default for me if I'm planning to start using this type of
A perfect what?
sorry, what is the perfect way for me as a beginner? What type of setting would I use if I'm planning to start using this type of
Okay, well, the thing that you need, of course, is the software. The other thing you need is a Wacom tablet. I did not find one yet that I would
I know I
recommend.
understand that part. I meant on here. I mean, what is my settings if I was planning to use this software? Like as a beginner, I'm trying to get
Okay,
I'm
I'm not sure what you're asking about settings.
yeah,
Are you talking about the requirements for the software?
not requirements. I mean, like what is your setting? Like your size, your pen, like the thing you show me with your canvases and stuff, the sizes.
I guess
Yeah,
was it
that's all, it's variable. It's, that's what I was trying to show you up here. This is called a property bar. And up on the property bar, you can change everything like size. You can change the opacity, you can change the pressure of the opacity, you can change the paper. All of that is available. And as a beginner, you
maybe
immediately
it-
have everything, which is the part that confuses people at the beginning. So what I would say to somebody is just take the basic paper and go through and play with some of the brushes. I would say go in and play with chalk, play with thick paint and so forth, just to kind of get an idea of how it goes. Don't worry about, see, what you're trying to do now is you want to make something, you want to make a painting right off the bat. You're not going to be able to do that. You've got to learn the software a bit first. So you're going to be, it's like you're going to have to go through a learning curve. So it's going to be a little uncomfortable when you start. And there is no specific setting. Now, if you take a class, the teacher might say, set it up this way, this way, and this way, follow my tutorial, and that'll help you learn how to use whatever we're working with. So that's it. It's not, there is no specific setting. It is huge, the varieties that you can do, way overwhelming. You just have to accept the fact that there are a whole bunch of varieties, and you're going to find the best way to work as you begin to play.
that sounds good.
Right?
What do you like to work in most, D? Is it
I've been
pens-
I've been working with pencil. I'm trying to be more diverse as possible. I have been getting into watercolor, but I need more work. So I want to improve more. I'm trying to move from traditional to digital more often than I can. That's why I asked.
Right. Well, if we're going to talk about Painter, the settings were infinite. I mean, truly infinite. You can
Right.
change the brush in all kind of ways. You know, you can even take this brush, which is a pencil, and I can come over here to this general setting. And so it tells me the dab type is circular, stroke type is singular, method is enhance cover, subcategory is grainy, hard elf, or blend. And all of that means something to me, but it's not going to mean anything to you. And you don't even have to get into this because you can get all these brushes that are already set up. But when you get a little bit further, you can come in here and change this to whatever. I mean, we could change it to thick paint bristle. Now that I've changed it to thick paint bristle, it's going to need a different layer, but it will automatically give me the layer. See, it says the brush needs a compatible layer. Take care of it for me. Okay. So now I have the thick paint layer. And as I paint with this, it doesn't look like it's thick, but it is. We'll make it bigger and we'll give you a different color there. you see that it, as I begin to paint, you can see the little buildup of paint.
Hmm.
It's not a real thick, very thick. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. We're gonna get that. We're gonna delete that. We'll get rid of this. Now, where I was going with this was I was fixing to show you how it works. See, this is like the beginning of bamboo.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what I would have done there. But I'm not gonna do it now. Let's get rid of this. Doesn't want to delete. Why? There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to change that. If you look here, this is your brush library. And each one of these libraries has has brushes in it. So I was working in the 2022 library. That's probably 700 brushes. Each one of these others is probably another 1,000 or so brushes. Some of them, if they're all Painter, there's some that will be the same. These other libraries are libraries that I created, or they're libraries of friends of mine where I'm using their brushes. Now I'm going to go to this library, and I'm going to go to some of my thick brushes. Let's see, skip the paint, not that one. Ooh, the liquid ink.
Hey, I'm gonna step out for just a second to make a call.
Okay,
All right, okay.
but so Dee, you're going to stay with me, right?
Yeah, of course I am.
Okay, good. All right, so let me find. I'm looking for my best thick paint. Paint, no.
I would love to see you, Summy.
Sumie?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to this one then.
Mr. Allen.
Just call me Skip. I know that's hard, but that's all you need to do. Say Skip.
Okay, Skip.
Yeah.
I appreciate for helping me. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm sorry for asking this question. I'm embarrassed that because I really have a hard time with technology when I'm kind of really envy how you got a quick learn on how to use this stuff.
Right.
I'm very simple-minded with things like this, you know?
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, most people are. And look, the people that I teach a lot are people that are my same age that have never really used computers. So you can get there. The problem is when you try to force yourself to get there, to say, oh, look, I don't know if I can do this. I don't understand what he's doing right now. You're not going to. You just have to accept the fact that it's going to build. Your knowledge is going to build. You'll learn a couple of things and then it'll begin to build. Probably by showing you what this overview is probably going to be overwhelming. It just is. I mean, it is what it is. And so it's something you will learn over time. Most people take about a year or two to get comfortable with software. I happen to have gotten my first computer back in 1994. So the software, the technology is where I'm strong at. And I can explain that to you, but you're going to have to just kind of watch right now and look at it and see what the brush does as I'm working and say, oh, wow, that's cool, and not expect to really know how to do it right now. Does that help?
I understand, yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to tell you, just don't worry about not knowing. All righty, so I have a brush here called Flowing Object. I don't think that's what I want. Let's do Leaf Blade. Okay, now this is a kind of interesting brush because it will, let's reverse that, make that black. It changes from the light color that's over there with a light pressure and the heavy color, well, shoot, I don't have it set up the way I thought I did. Hold on one second. Now, don't worry about it. Let's just leave this at, we'll make this kind of a mid color. Okay. So this brush will act funny in the way you start to paint with it. See how it twists and turns? Let me get a darker color. We'll go to kind of a dark green. Okay. See that? And it almost looks like a blade of grass or something, or blade, you know, iris leaves. It's almost like an iris leaf. And that's going to happen just with the way you paint, whether you paint heavy, light, or whatever, you're going to get these kind of looks. And that's what I mean by starting to play with.
I really love your strokes. I like how you feel organic.
Right. And you will do the same thing. I mean, it's partly the brush that's doing the work. So I've gone to black now, and I'm going to take this kind of just make some lines through here. Kind of give me an idea of some kind of bottom. Then I'm going to a blade or through there. Okay, so now let's go to
That's
my
really
table.
nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, I really like that transparency. I like it.
Right, and that's because it's watercolor. You're getting transparent colors and stuff with that. Now, if I were making an iris, I might use the same brush. See, and you've got the beginning of an iris there. And this is what I was talking about, that you can do this stuff with brush strokes and not necessarily painting or drawing lines and stuff. Now, if I go to a different brush,
Oh, it's like a feel. You have to feel the proportion of your mind. You like that, right?
yes, yeah, you just kind of go with the flow. Let me take something like, we'll take this stumble. Now, what stubble is going to do is it's going to this down like that. See, it's going to give you this sort of variation of color. Once it, in watercolor, the way watercolor works is when you put it down like this, it's hasn't had a chance to dry. And when you see it change, now it's drying. And you know how watercolor dries lighter than it is normally? So yeah, so what we've got here is something that I can use for background, so to speak. So if I made it in a light color, I might come up here. Oops, I'm on the wrong.
Oh, wait. Can you do that onto that grass? I thought you add like a sky color around.
I'm sorry. All right, like this, you want what now?
Sorry, I thought you can add some type of, like a bit of sky color with that warm dry technique.
That's correct. You could do something like this that gives you a background of some other kind of color. Now, and you can also mix those. Now, I did that very light, but here's another thing I could do. I could, before I do anything here, I can go over here and right click and I say, select layer content. Now I'm going to add another watercolor layer over the top. And I'm going to invert the selection. So now the selection is this area out here is what's selected. This part is not selected. So that means if I come in with the watercolor, I'm not going to paint over the leaves. Okay, so I let that go in there. You've got.
Okay, I see. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do. So if we go to, let's see if we can, we'll go this warm and dry. I don't know what it is, but we'll go to it. And we'll take the same paint. Now this one is going to probably be a little runnier. No, it's not too runny. But this again would be something that I would use for singing. So I might do something like that, and like that, and that. Get down here, and put some kind of middle thing, and I've begun to build another type of
Iris.
orchid. Yeah, oh, well, this is probably an orchid, but it doesn't really matter, just another flower. Variable flat, I don't remember what that is. Rigor remove, I do remember. We'll see. We play with that. Now, organic, that's fun. Now, this one is going to give me two colors. It's going to work with what's called the additional color, which is black, and the main color, which is that blue. So if I paint lightly, I'm going to get the blue, and heavier, I start getting the black. See, like that. And look, when it finally renders, you get this sort of look of the watercolor coming together. So if I change that, let's change it to, oh, come on, what am I doing wrong? All right, now I'm going to change this one. I'm going to change that to something up here. Let's make it green. We switch it back like that. Okay. Now when I do that, I've got heavy, it gives me that darker color. White gives me the blue.
Sorry about that.
Now watch when I let go, this is going to kind of blend together. There you go. See?
Oh, wow. Look how pretty that color is.
It really is.
It is. And so we can go, let's see, let's do organic again and leave that.
I'll just be right over here, buddy.
Sure. What is re-wet? Have you tried that one before? How did it
Yeah,
look?
no, I didn't try it before, but I can show you. It's really a cool thing. So I can take the re-wet and it begins to, it's like adding water and it begins to run. See? Yeah, it ran down here. In a case like that, you probably want to have a brush. Let me open up papers. Go. It's not it. There we go. It was covered up, sorry. All right, so let's get a paper that has more runny stuff to it. We'll try this one. Yeah, and I've got it. What I've done is I've changed the scale and contrast so that it's more open. It's not quite as skinny, thin as it was before. And so now when I put this in, you see I'm going to get runs that are more separated out and stuff. That's what re-wet is, okay? And I could change the color of re-wet. And I could re-wet with this green, and it's going to pick up some of the blue and some of the green and put it together and begin to let it roll. So that's what re-wet does. There are many times that you might want to have just a touch of watercolor runny, you know, and you can also remove, like this rigger remove. See, it's like using a credit card or something to scrape over the watercolor so that you get a line in it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You can scratch back into traditional watercolor and pick up the.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just the connection's kind of sucky. Sorry about that.
Let me see if it helps if I bring this over closer. Does that help some? Is that better?
I don't think it's you. It's just a connection kind of crappy. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep going. So any of these kind of papers you can use. Now, I make a lot of these papers, and some of them are buyable from Corel and, you know, different things.
You make paper?
Yeah, make papers for Corel. You just do it in the computer the same way.
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty. How long? How long have you been doing this stuff?
Since 2008. The paper, anything that the developer can do in Corel, they've made it available for us to do, but in an easier way. So building paper, you know, there's just, it's basically you paint something on the canvas and you capture it, and that will give you the paper. But I mean, I'm getting really out into the wild world. This is another kind of watercolor brush that allows you to come in with light and actually pull the watercolor back up, or heavy pressure puts it in. And then when you let it runs a little bit like that. Now it's showing that paper. Now,
go back to that again. I missed that part. Go back to that. Can you show that again?
I'm going to get rid of this out of the middle. All right, so you can do heavy pressure and get this. Now it's picking up the paper. That's what you're seeing here. If I do light pressure, it goes back in and takes it away. Then when you paint, or when you let it go, it tends to run and all of that. But I can take this paper and I have another script, but I can just change the scale here and the contrast. But this does it for me automatically. So that's the way the paper looks by normally. So now when I do this, you see, you're going to see less little lines. There. So it's something along those lines. But depending on the paper you pick, you know, it's going to give you something different. So if I pick something like that, it's at its standard, you're going to get that paper. When I started that program, I was specifically interested. Let's go to another brush. Oh, well, I tell you what, let's put grainy pickup here. I mean, grainy wash here. And now we'll go to grainy pickup. Now what grainy pickup does, it takes the brush, the paint away. But it's again painting with the
It's like Mr. Scraping, but painting. Same time.
exactly. Now if I do a very light one, see, it just gets up pieces of it. See, like that. So you can create all sorts of looks with the brushes. This is Grainy Leaves. Let's go back to black. And so a grainy leaf would be something like that, see? That one wasn't good. So a bamboo leaf, let's take this down a little bit. Over here. All right, so a bamboo leaf would be something like this. Oh, come on. See, and there would be a stick maybe coming off somewhere. And you'd have another one, might go up like that and down. I don't like that up there, so we're going to put another one just right down here in the middle.
Is that Grainy Leaf, right? Sorry. That's Grainy Leaf?
Grainy leaf.
Yeah, okay, I see. Okay.
Okay.
I like how it looked like a Japanese painting. I like it.
Yes, they're very much like Japanese paintings. I mean, that's exactly what this whole watercolor sumi area is for.
Grainy.
So grainy bamboo is not going to show much with this texture the way it is. We would have to go to something different. Let's go to not any of those. I don't have all my papers in here. That's a surprise. We can probably use one of these. Let's try that one. And what I'm going to do is increase the contrast so that we'll have a chance to show. I'm not getting much grain. And I should, why not? Opacity, grain is 10%. Let's try increasing the amount. Well, that's not a good grainy bamboo brush. At least I'm not getting what I should get. Let's try what flowing object does. Yeah, there you go. I love that brush. All right, so this brush is going to be real wet and it's flowing into the texture, the paper texture. See these lines?
That's pretty cool.
It's being affected by that. If I took the scale up, did the same thing, you see it's going to give me little textures in some places, but much larger areas where I don't have the texture. And that really makes beautiful watercolor, even if I took it into a green.
I would like to watch your videos on that stuff.
Yeah, you can. Now, there are tons of videos online that you can see. Well, let's take that one back to its default and we'll pick up something else. Let's try this one. Increase the contrast.
Skips, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because you gave me advice. I still want to be able to continue making art, but what is your advice for someone like me? I have a I really have a hard time to keep, to keep my mind relax. I always
Uh-huh.
seem to have a paranoia when I'm drawing.
No, it's perfection. You're trying to get perfection and you're afraid somebody's going to look at it. It's not going to be up to snuff. And all I can tell you there is that you're defeating yourself. You have to give yourself the permission to fail. You- because the only way to learn is to try and fail and then explore and keep exploring till you get it to work best for you. And how you get there is difficult for me to say, except that I understand where you're coming from because I do the same thing. And I get really nervous because I'm showing lots of people what I'm doing. And you'll even remember when we were talking, I clarified my work to you, saying that, my expertise is working with software, not painting. My paintings aren't good, is what I'm saying. That's not really true. I have some very good paintings. I have some that are awful. But I'm just like you, and most of us are this way. I worry about being judged or critiqued or whatever. And I want whatever I do to be perfect. And even worse is I will have something in my mind that I want to paint. And as I paint, it doesn't come out that way, and I'm pissed. I want it to look exactly like my mind works. It's never going to do that. You have to be
I
flexible
admire
enough.
your way how you just sorry.
That's all right. You just have to be flexible enough to allow the image and your muse and the computer and all of you to sort of flow in together and see what you come up with.
Okay.
Okay?
I honestly admire how you have fun, but also be more organized with your stuff. I
Well,
admire that so much.
thank you. I'm probably not as organized as what you think, but you do need to play in the beginning. That is really critical.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually understand that. I actually have a lot of fun when I was in my younger days. Like I didn't have to worry about, like you think you just said. When I'm
Right,
older, I feel like I hate to feel like I'm way behind, but you're right. It takes some times.
right. Well,
Right.
you're not way behind. You're just starting. That's all it amounts to. You're starting. So at some point, you will be comfortable with it. You want in the beginning, as I told you, it's overwhelming to begin with. Just expect it. It is for everybody, and don't worry about it. Little by little, it builds. The knowledge builds, and again, like I'm saying, I'm showing you kind of an overview. So we're going all over the place. And I wouldn't recommend somebody jump into Sumier right off the top of the bat, just unless you just want to do Sumier, then you can start with that. But really, you would probably it'd be best to do some sketches first. And you can even try different brushes to sketch. They're brushes that if I go to Skip's liquid ink and I come to something like pine tree, now again, I'm going to have to look at my layers channel because I'm in liquid ink now. So I need a liquid ink layer to work with. So now I've got my liquid ink layer. And I'll tell you what, let's just hide that. And we don't need that anymore. Okay, so now we're on a liquid ink layer. And I've got green and blue over here. I'm going to change one of these back to black. Okay, so if I paint real lightly, I'm getting that kind of black color. As I increase, you see I'm getting to the green. But look at what the brush is doing. There's no way you can control that. But what's it called? It's called pine tree. Okay, let's kind of see if we can do a pine tree. So that's kind of like pine tree leaves, you see? Now I would change the color to do something with it. And then I would come in with another kind of brush, like a linear brush. I'm going to make it, let's see, how big is it? That's probably okay. So then I would come in like this. A little bit, no, I don't like it. I'll just leave. Make it a little smaller. That'll give me what I want, I think. Yeah. Except it doesn't go there. Let's just get rid of that one. Then we'll a little bit more like that. Okay, see how quickly I sort of did that, and I have kind of a pine tree. And I might want to put a little more up there at the top, or not. Anyway, do you get the idea of how this is working now? You're going to do traditional stuff, but in some cases, you can have something that looks a lot better. Now, if I don't like any of that, I just click on a button and get rid of it. And then I can start over. So you can work very rapidly. Where I wanted to go with this, though, I wanted to go to Skip's Wet Black Sketcher. And I want this to be black. Okay, so this sketcher, if I didn't change to it, makes you mad. Okay, now we got it. All right, so as I paint with this light pressure, I'm going to get hardly anything. But as I increase my pressure, I'm going to get more. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what's really fun is Painter allows you to change the way pressure works for you. So if I come over here and I paint over here, see how that changed? Let's say you paint real lightly normally. So you would paint lightly here, and you'd get this kind of thing. Now, what that's telling Painter is it's saying he paints really light, so we need to change the way the brush works. So, and we're going to say, okay, so that now when I paint light, I'm going to get the paint now, which before I didn't get anything. So light, and as I increase the pressure, I'll get more. Now, see when it crosses, you see that little kind of wet mark that happens there? Okay, so let's make this brush bigger. See, now I've got this kind of type of effect. And let's bring it, oops, sorry. Let's bring it down a little bit in size. Okay, we're at 15 now. Now, again, the little dots that you're seeing, that has to do with the paper that we've got selected, all that stuff that's going on. So if we go back up here to our plain textured, you see, I'm going to get some of that happening, but that's the brush as opposed to the texture. Now we're only working with the brush and not worried about the texture. See? And so this is a different kind of brush to sketch with. You might find something like this brush.
What is it called? Spotty lines?
Yes, spotty lines, because that's what it gives me. See? So this, you could, well, not doing it right, let me think. Curves to get the thing. I was trying to get a bamboo that was off to the side, but that brush is not going to give it to me. There's another thing in Asian art. Oh, I've forgotten the name of it. I'll have to think about it. But what they do is they come in and they make a circle, okay? But they, after you practice and practice and practice, you can get a pretty good circle. I'm not doing a very good one here, but you can get a pretty good circle. And when you're working with something like these kind of crazy brushes, you can get some pretty interesting things. I love this brush, watch it. Don't you love that? Now, see, this one would be fun to do where you're making some kind of, it begins to look like crosshatch. It's not, but
Scribbles.
But as those develop and as they begin to build up texture, you get something that's pretty neat. So you could do a circle, an oval like this. Let's change the size of the brush now to giving me, okay. You don't want to change the size there, I'll do it here. There we go. So now we have the same brush, but it's more controlled. And we'll take it back to the big one.
Oh, I see a face. I like that.
Yes, yes. See, I'm beginning to put in some sort of face. I don't want it to be too obvious. But you see, you can do all kind of things. This would make an interesting tree as well. Anyway, I think this is a fun brush. Then we have, if you have something like the wet paint, that's going to give you this look like that. And as it crosses over, it'll kind of soften the edges. If you go now to a color, look at that. See, it's going to give you a transparent color and work it over the top like that. Now, watercolor can give you some, let's see if, no, palette, running watercolor. But, okay, so I've just opened up a bunch of brushes that I like to use with watercolor. And so if I took something like, let's try Hake 2. This is Hake or Hake, I'm not sure how. Those are those big, wide, white Japanese type brushes. And they tend to.
Oh, I have them at home.
I'm sorry?
I have one of those things at home.
Okay. Well, they're big and flat, and they tend to give you something along those lines. But look at how it looks when it changes color. Now the black is so intense. Oh, again, it's a brush that uses two colors. Okay, so lighter, I'm going to get the combination of the black and that yellow there. So let's take this and we'll make this part, make it lighter. And I think about like that. So now you've got just a slight difference kind of in the color, but look at how that looks like watercolor.
Hmm.
Now, if I switched it to another color and put over the top, I'm going to get a combination of those two colors. But I can also pause the diffusion. Okay, now what that means is I can paint with this, then I can go to another color, paint over the top, and we'll go to another color, that in. Now I'm going to release the diffusion and they bleed into each other. This is not a very good wet brush, but it's basically kind of giving you an idea of how it works. So if I take this brush, see it's even wetter. See if I can get one that's really wet. There you go. See how that bled together? Now let's pause this diffusion and we'll take kind of a light green and put that down. Now again, this brush allows me to pick up the paint as I go. And we're going to make this come in with a kind of darker blue-green. This really kind of covers over, but it will blend in the center together. See how that blended? I think it's pretty nice. Are y'all still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah, good.
Kind of floating in and out, Skip. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just, I did that.
I'm just really focused on how you do this stuff. That's all. I'm following what you're doing, really.
Right. Okay, good.
Hey, and I kind of, I mean, I'm recording this so I can share this with Anthony. Like I could put it on YouTube as a private listing or whatever.
Sure.
Where he could go over it again.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Watercolor, you can throw little splatters around. So if I had like, where's my grainy bristle bit here? All right, so let's say that come on, change. There we go. All right, so let's say I put this here. And it's doing that kind of run. And I go back to that splatter. And we change the color to bright red. See how it gives you those water spots that you normally would get?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, there's some other types that will give you a better water spot. But again, I'm just showing you how.
I find it really cool that it looks very, like it's moving on its own. I like that.
Right, right. These are just, again, I can put in all kind of different brushes and pause the diffusion. I mean, you can do really all kind of stuff. But let's grab something else. Let's see. Let's just see this grainy, pretty wash. Wow, isn't that neat? See, this gives you some of the,
What type of brush is that?
it's called Grainy Pretty Wash. It's a watercolor.
Okay.
Anything that changes as you're working is a watercolor. Let's make it a little bigger. And I'm going to pause the diffusion. So we'll put this down, heavy, light, heavy. Okay. Now I'm going to take another color. Let's see what kind of, we'll go bright red. To light. And we take that off there. See? That's you're working on wet paper here. And you're using that watercolor brush on wet, and that's going to make it sort of blend and bleed like this occurred. Now, you were working with a type of digital watercolor. I mean, a smooth watercolor. Let me go to a different group of watercolor brushes. And I will go to, I think these digital watercolors will probably be closer to what you want. Oh, right, take care of it. Okay, this one is, it's not going to be what you want because it's got, it's called jiggering, which is taking the brush stroke, the one dot of it, and it's moving it around rather quickly. And I want to give you something that's not doing that. Let's see, we go up here. Let's go to that fringe blender. If that's named. That's definitely what I need, but the opacity. Where that came from. Opacity. Okay, I know it's still running. Pressure. Min pressure. Let's bring this up a little bit. I think that should do it. Let's see. It's working the opposite way. So I have to, let's go change this. You know, and Dee, I haven't worked with these brushes in a while.
No, trust me,
So-
I understand how you feel. If you're good at
So-
things, so you're good at, you can
Yeah.
show me that.
Well, no, what I find that you do, because the program is so large, you're constantly relearning. You know, if you hadn't been using them for a while, and these I haven't used in quite a while.
That's my
you're-
fear, really. That's how
Yeah, you're going to have to relearn, but that, you know, that's just normal. It's the way things go. I'm looking for a particular brush that Air Fringe Blender. Let's see if this one. Yeah, this is what I want. Okay, now you can take a brush like this, and let's say we take this lighter pink, and you can put it down. Light or heavy. And then you can come back with another brush. And this one is going to cover if I put heavy or I'm going to do a light, and I get a light sort of blue on it. But this is one of the advantages of watercolor. In Painter, you can make it work differently than what you're used to. And that's kind of neat. Let me see, splashing water. Should have something in there. They're damp, no pools. They're damp, dries. Well, I'm looking for a square, something blender. Uh-oh, somebody's getting sleepy.
Sorry. It's not,
No, it's my voice.
no, trust me. I actually am learning pretty much thing. I've been sitting here for about an hour on a computer screen, not good for me. I actually appreciate your helping me into this. It makes me feel more relaxed, actually, that you have more experience than me. It makes me feel at ease that I can try my best. Thank you.
Right. No, you don't worry about it. This is fun for me. But I'm not finding the brush I want. Let's just don't worry about it. Let's go to some of these others and look at it. So if we go to this, let's go to Grainy, skips Grainy bristle up here. Put it in there.
What is your favorite palette to use? What is your favorite brush?
Oh, there's no face. Oh shoot, my finger keeps hitting down here. I've got the touch on, so I keep hitting some of these brushes down here. I really don't have a favorite. Uh-oh, what happened there? There we go. I just don't have a favorite. Sorry. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to show you thick paint at some point, and we got sidetracked. Let's see, skips ultimate thick paint is what I'm looking for. Here it is, skips compatible. Oh, here we go. All right, so the first brush I have, let's go up here to the beginning. Then I'm going to get this thin brush. I'm going to change my paper back to a canvas of some sort. And I like that textured canvas that I made. So I'm looking for it. Here it is, this one. Okay. So if I'm going to delete all these other layers that I've got because I don't need them anymore. And I'm going to add a thick paint layer. All right, so this first brush, you see how you can see the texture on the side. It's light. You see what I mean? You can tell that it's on that textured canvas.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool actually.
Right.
I miss how technology like this got this type of texture. I'm
See,
amazed.
now if I go real light, I'm going to get more. And as I paint a little heavier, it's going to cover it up, but I'm still going to get some of that texture showing. Okay. And if I go to, like this is called a thicker grainy. Let's get another kind of color. You see it's a little thicker than the other brush. It paints over the other one. If you paint lightly, it's going to kind of mix or smear with those two. Now it's going to get really thick at some point. Come down the line. And I'm going to go to Okay, we'll go to this one. And let's get a different color. Can you see that it's thicker? See how you can see it on the.
Oh yeah. What does it say?
Mhm.
No or ho? Does that say ho or no?
Up here?
Yeah, the red. You're painting the red. I
Oh,
thought you were making words. Sorry.
no, it's you can paint by using a color wheel like I've been doing.
Yeah, yeah. What do you
But
use?
you,
Acrylic paint? It looked like acrylic paint. Like
well, wait, or I can go to a
mixer.
mixer pad and mix things. And this particular brush it will sample multiple colors. So I pick that. And if I go in here and, well, let's see, let's make it bigger here. So if I go in here and select that, now it's going to paint with two colors. It's like you've put brush on one side and on the other side. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah,
And
okay.
so you can do that. Now, if I go to down here, now I'm using a palette knife. And let's get rid of that. So the palette knife, see, it's given me those couple of colors, or I can just use one color, that I picked down here. But notice how it kind of will blend somewhat with that. If I go to this grainy mixing knife, now if I bring this color in, you see it's going to mix those. See how it's mixing? And if I turn the knife or kind of play with it in different ways, I can get these edges of thick paint. See?
Mhm.
I like thick paint a lot.
For
And
me, I like to start very.
you would start very simply with something like pencils, pastels, chalk, that kind of thing. Now we have compatible brushes that they work on a thick paint layer, but they're not a thick paint brush. So this may be a thick brush using opacity, using impasto to get thick, but it's not a thick paint. And it will work. See how it flicks, goes in there and smooths out some of those lines. If we go back to the ultimate thick paint, I'm going to come down to one of these really thick. Oh, this is fun. This is a grainy curling brush. See how that does that kind of curly. See how it kind of twists and turns. Look,
That's just. I'm gonna lie.
look at that.
Hmm.
Now the brush is running out of paint, but if I wanted to keep going with paint, there's something up here in one place or another, which I can't seem to find. Yeah, not going to worry about it. I'm being bad right now. To be honest, I've for the
You just
last.
call me D. It's easy to remember.
Okay, to be honest, the last 3 months or so, I haven't really been working. I've kind of left my class off I've been going through some personal stuff and
Skip, it's
so,
perfectly fine. I understand how you feel. Trust me.
yeah, I'm just talking about that when I start really getting back to stuff, it will make more sense, I think. Okay, let's see what else we can see over here. We've got, there's a really thick, supposed to be a really thick palette knife. This is probably it, thick grainy knife. Let's try it. Yeah, that is. See that thick paint? Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Yeah, you can just go right through that and cut into it, just like you're working with really wet paint and blobbing it on. Very different from your watercolor, but fun. You can do, let me see. There's a bamboo that
I
I did.
really like that, Skips. That's pretty
Thank
nice.
you. Reset. Then we've got a, oh, I thought I had a iris here. Oh, that one. That's
Hey,
a,
Skips, I do get my webcam with me.
I'm sorry, what?
I have a webcam.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
What kind is it?
Give me a second. It's on my inside my bag. I'm so in this room. I can still hear you, of course.
Okay.
I can show it to you. It's like this. It's like the big beginner friendly stuff. I had this for since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, can you see it? Oh wow, that's cool. That's a nice painting. I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. This is a combination of thick paint and watercolor.
Dude, that's pretty nice.
And it's really an abstracted kind of work. All of this stuff down here, down at the bottom of the painting, that's like just a brush, thick paint brush going across something, you know, that would give you some texture. So if I were to select a really wild thick paint, I mean, a wild brush, let's do this one. Okay, so just to show you what this would do, and I can pick color from here. So I'm going to grab that color. I know, just do it. You see it. You don't realize that it's using the texture and stuff until you really kind of get into it. Let me make the brush a little bigger, and we'll just go straight across. See there? And it's having trouble making stuff in the center. But see that again, it's almost like you've got land, a mass of land there. And I've gone a little too big with it, but see, it adds to the mass of land, and that's thick paint over that watercolor. Now, what's really cool is I can take that thick paint layer. Let's bring that back up. And I can right click it and I can say convert to a default layer. Now it's a default layer. And then I can right click and I can convert it to a watercolor layer. Now, because it's watercolor, it's on a layer that is called gel. And what that does is it moves, it changes the paint to a transparent paint. So now it's really dark and transparent over that color there. Now, if I were to do this and grab that and move it, oops, I'm moving everything but what I wanted to move. So let's do Control Z, that got us back. Now I can move this up here. You see how you're beginning to see through it a little bit?
Yeah, it slightly kind of changes color too. I'm noticing.
Yes, it does, because it's picking up the color underneath. Okay, so let's delete that. And I'm gonna add another thick paint layer, and we'll take that same brush and we'll use a lighter color so that, oh, I was going to show you before, we have this mixer where I can mix the colors and create that. I also have color sets. And these are sets that I've created. Some of them I created, some are not. Like this is matching Winsor Newton colors. This is CMYK type colors. All my stuff is in here, but there are some colors from like pastel sets and stuff.